the Korean coast, autumn 1597. In the distance, the sea begins to grow dark, but this is not a storm. They are ships. The Japanese fleet is approaching the narrow Myeongnyang Strait. Facing it are only 13 Korean warships. Only a few months earlier, the Korean fleet was almost completely destroyed. Most of its ships were lost, the sailors were afraid, and the commanders knew that if the last naval force was defeated, the Japanese armies would be able to move men, weapons, and supplies easily along the coast. The man who must stop them was recently a prisoner. His name is Yi Sun-sin. He has been removed from command, arrested, and demoted. He now faces a choice. He can retreat and protect the few ships that remain, or send them against the Japanese fleet and its overwhelming numerical advantage. Yi Sun-sin chooses to fight, but not in the open sea. He leads the Japanese toward Myeongnyang, a narrow and dangerous strait known for its powerful tidal currents. The water changes direction and moves through the narrow passage with enormous force. In the open sea, the large Japanese fleet can spread out, surround the enemy, and attack from several sides. But in a narrow strait, a numerical advantage can become a weakness. Only part of the fleet can enter at one time, and the element of surprise will be on the Korean side. Yi Sun-sin was born in 1545 during the Joseon dynasty. He entered military service relatively late, and his career was filled with conflicts, accusations, and demotions. But Yi Sun-sin had one quality that proved more important than politics. He turned preparation into a system that he could use in battle. When he received a naval command along the southern coast, he did not wait for the war to begin. He inspected the ports, studied maps, observed bays and currents, collected supplies, and repaired ships. He trained archers, artillery crews, and sailors. He also began preparing a military version of the Gyeobuxian, known as the turtle ship. The turtle ship had a covered upper deck that made it difficult for enemy soldiers to board. Sharp spikes were placed across the top. Cannons could fire through openings on different sides, and the bow was shaped like a dragon's head. However, the main ship of the Korean fleet was the Panokseon, a large warship with a wide and relatively flat hull. This shape was suitable for the shallow waters and changing currents around the Korean peninsula. It allowed the ship to turn in limited space and carry heavy cannons on a raised fighting deck. The Japanese fleet also had firearms, but much of their strategy depended on approaching the enemy, firing muskets, and boarding the opposing ship. Then, samurai and soldiers turned the deck into a battlefield. Yi Sun-sin tried never to give them that opportunity. His ships used artillery from a distance. One ship took a good angle, fired its cannons, and then turned away or moved back. Another ship then took its place. The goal was not to capture the enemy ship immediately. The goal was to destroy its hull, masts, oars, and deck before its soldiers could reach the Korean line. In one of the battles near Hansan Island in 1592, Yi Sun-sin used a formation called the crane wing. The center drew the Japanese ships forward, while the wings spread out on both sides. When the enemy moved between them, Korean cannons opened fire from several directions. At first, the method seemed simple. Draw the enemy forward, open the formation, surround its leading ships, destroy them before they reach yours. But this strategy requires enormous discipline. If the center retreats too quickly, the line can collapse. If the wings close too early, the enemy can escape. If one captain attacks without a signal, the entire formation can be destroyed. Yi Sun-sin turned dozens of ships into one controlled machine. 5 years later, in 1597, he was accused of refusing to follow an order to attack. The information behind the order was doubtful, but he was arrested and reduced to the rank of an ordinary soldier. Command was given to another admiral. The result was a disaster. At Chilcheoliang, almost the entire Korean fleet was destroyed. Then the royal court called Yi Sun-sin back. He reached Myeongnyang with only 13 ships. At the beginning of the battle, even his own captains hesitated. His flagship faced the first attack almost alone. Korean cannons fired at the Japanese ships entering the narrow passage, and then the other Korean commanders gradually joined the battle. Then the current changed. The Japanese formation began to break apart. Some ships were pushed backward, while others crashed into one another. Inside the narrow strait, their enormous numerical advantage could not be used. Yi Sun-sin attacked at the moment when the water, the narrow passage, and the enemy's confusion were already working in his favor. He knew the area well. He used the discipline he had built among his men, showed patience, and made the decision to remain in position when fear told him to escape. Yi Sun-sin won the decisive victory at Myeongnyang and remained in command of the rebuilt Korean fleet. But the war was not over. The final stage of the Japanese invasions of Korea was still ahead. It was a nearly 7-year conflict in which Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the ruler of a united Japan, sent a huge army to the Korean peninsula as part of his plan to conquer China. 1 year later, in December 1598, Korean and Chinese forces attacked the retreating Japanese fleet at Noryang. During the battle, the admiral was struck by a firearm and died aboard his command ship. It is said that he ordered his death to be kept secret until the battle was over. He died during the final major naval battle of the war as the Japanese forces were already leaving Korea.